Hours later.
Someone is slapping the bag with a baseball bat.
Yeah, it's bad.
Welcome to Kyle Anthony's UFC betting show. I am Kyle Anthony, and welcome to the podcast. Welcome to the prediction show for UFC 247, Jon Jones versus Dominick Reyes. We're going to talk about two free plays that we have on this card. Also, we're going to have two plays on Wagertalk as well, combined with my free plays and my Wagertalk plays in the month of January to start 2020. We are 9-1, totally killing it at this point. Have a plus money play at plus 210, a plus 120. So have had a lot of plus money plays, even money plays, some slight favorite plays. Really am finding some nice spots to place our money here in January. Now we're in February. We've got a nice rip of a few events coming up. Got to keep it going there. So we will get into it right away. We will get into the first free play is on the main event of the evening between Jon Jones and Dominick Reyes. So this is one here that, you know what, I think a lot of people are overlooking, and I'm going to get into what my bet is going to be, but I think a lot of people are overlooking this due to the fact that a lot of people like Jon Jones. They think that the actual odds are, you got Jon Jones minus 460, you've got Reyes at plus 360. People are favoring Jones, of course, but let's get into it and break down quickly past few fights, what we see, what we like, what we didn't like, and if the actual line does make sense for us to place a bet. So the first thing we're going to talk about is Jon Jones. He is the GOAT. We all get it. 3 fights ago, he fought Alexander Gustafsson, and this was a fight here where, you know what, I'm not very high on Gustafsson to begin with. Don't really, at this point in his career, he had his moment. I feel like he's really shifted, on a downward spiral. Didn't really seem interested to fight in certain spots where he was offered fights. So this is a fight here where I thought just Jon Jones really dominated from top to bottom, totally outstriking him, using his distance management, which is something, again, I think he's going to use against Reyes here, but his distance management is fantastic. The way that he's able to just use his striking, stay at a range, use his range, use his length to really go out there, confuse opponents, and that was something that happened consistently in that first round. Into that second round against Gustafsson, you saw a lot of the same, and then he ended up changing it up and doing a level change, which was something that a little bit different that people were expecting from Jon Jones. He goes in there, gets the takedown, hard ground and pound, puts away Gustafsson in that second round. I didn't really think there was too much to take away from this, besides for the fact that there was nice distance management, something that he's going to have to use against Reyes with Reyes' power. But there you have it there in the first fight. Alexander Gustafsson does not defeat Jon Jones. Jon Jones gets that victory. 2 fights ago, he fought Anthony Smith. And this was a fight here where Anthony Smith was very, very high on himself, saying that, he doesn't want, he calls Jon Jones kind of a snake charmer, where he really is able to lure you into his game and lure you into the movements. And obviously, again, I think that goes into distance management, that he is, absolutely spectacular at kind of guiding opponents where he wants them to go and then attacking them when they are at their weakest. And this was a spot here again, Anthony Smith was trying to move forward, trying to land big shots, tried to change up the pace, and just couldn't really find a rhythm against Jon Jones for the entire time. And I really looked at this as a classic Jon Jones performance, where, again, stayed outside, creative striking, was able to mix it up. I thought he mixed it up very well in this fight, and that's something, again, where he's creative with the striking, mixing it up, using distance management. It's very tough puzzle to figure out. Anthony Smith did not have a chance in this fight. I really had it a 4-1 in the rounds, but it was pretty much overall, you had an easy victory for Jon Jones defending his title against Anthony Smith. And then most recently, which is a very intriguing fight, I rewatched this fight actually twice because I thought it was just a very interesting fight to really break down. If you've got time, definitely check it out. Was against Thiago Santos. This was a fight here where, I was actually I'm very high on Thiago Santos. I mean, I really truly believe that he has got all of the weapons. I had been betting him for probably his last 5 fights. just because I feel like he's under the radar. He doesn't speak English. You don't really hear much from him, but he goes out there and he puts on a great performance time and time again. This is a situation here where, Santos was a plus 600. You had Jones roughly around a minus 700. Odds were higher. And I was just, this to me was a complete stay away from me because, one, I'm not going to pay up that much. And I was high on Santos, so I did stay away on this bet. But the bet, I think staying away did warrant itself because in this fight it was a very close fight. I mean, you had somebody like Santos who's got the power, can move forward, and not just up top with his boxing. He's got great kicks, creative kicks. He's the kind of guy that's gonna want to stand toe to toe. And I thought it was very different the way that he actually attempted to try to take Jon Jones out of his rhythm. The striking, he's strong, he's a tough guy, and he's looking for that. And that was something I think that maybe Jon Jones, he did hurt him. There was a point where he got hurt, which he's still, going through surgery and everything else. Right now, hopefully a nice recovery for him. But you've got Jon Jones where there's a spot here where you did see the kink in the armor. And I think a lot of people looked at that and said, you know what? There's a chance here that Jon Jones can lose a fight, that you saw a little bit of a weakness with a guy that was hurt and, he still was able to produce. And I thought that, it's possible, but even rewatching it, I still don't really believe it was that close. They did have it as a split decision. I don't agree with that. I thought it was an easy 3-2 for Jones. I didn't think it was going to be a split or you could really find 3 rounds or 4 rounds or whatever it is to give to Santos. But a very interesting fight with a guy that was hurt and then ended up being a very close fight. But Jon Jones does get that split decision victory in his most previous fight. Then you've got Dominick Reyes. 3 fights ago, he fought OSP over St. Preux, and I'm not big on St. Preux here. The guy has had some great finishes and some creative finishes, but look at it overall. OSP is 24-13. He's won 2 out of his last 5 fights. There's a lot there's going on there. I thought it was a nice showing for him because it was pretty much a sweeping decision for Reyes to really go out there, showed some power, went forward. OSP is definitely a big, strong guy, but he's still evolving. I mean, he's just got toughness, and I think he really has spots where if he really elevated, but I feel like he's kind of been that same OSP for a very long time where other guys are elevating. I think he's being left behind a little bit. But in that, you had Reyes did get a decision victory in that fight. 2 fights ago, he fought Volkan Ozdemir. This one was a very intriguing fight because this was a very close fight. This is a fight where you had Ozdemir looking to come back, looking to go back and get an opportunity for a title shot, fought some tough guys, had some losses, but has always looked pretty good. I've always thought he's looked pretty good overall. They traded a couple shots there. There were spots there, but I liked what Volkan Ozdemir did when he went out there and he pressured Reyes. He tried to be the hammer instead of Reyes always being the hammer and the opponent being the nail. He tried to switch it on him and tried to pressure him. And I thought that's something that Jon Jones is going to be able to do in this fight overall. But in that fight, it was a split decision victory for Reyes. I actually had Volkan winning 2-1 in that fight, and I think a lot of people did. So if Ozdemir did win that fight, what would we think of Reyes and where would Reyes be? Kind of a question mark there, but you did see that Reyes did get that decision victory against Ozdemir. And then most recently, he fought Chris Weidman. This fight here is again, and not to knock the opponents here, but you've got Weidman, who is now 1-5 out of his last six fights. Has really shown to be Mr. Glass at this point. He really hasn't most of the time he hasn't, up until a point where he had been getting his face smashed in a couple big shots. You saw him bleed. You see him take big shots. His face seems to fall apart. He can't take a punch anymore. I just don't like what I'm seeing from him at this point. But Reyes did what he needed to do. He went out there, exchanged with him, dropped him, got the first round knockout. He did what he was supposed to in that fight against Weidman. Weirdly, though, you've got him beating Weidman and a guy that's 1-5, and then he gets a title shot. That's how things work out. Again, that's a tidbit where, I don't find that, besides the Ozdemir fight where he possibly have lost, I don't find that to be the most greatest rundown. Some well-known names, but not the greatest rundown of wins. But with that all being said, obviously we know that Jones has got terrific kickboxing, great reach. He's got the 84-inch reach. Always has a reach advantage. Very rangy, very great with able to really throw off opponents. Again, we talked about his distance management overall. The other side you've got that's Jones. On the other side you've got Reyes. Reyes, he's got the big power. He's the undefeated guy. He's the younger guy, hungry guy coming up. But a big part to me here is obviously going to be the competition level. That's going to be something that, you've got, Jon Jones has fought the who's who of the light heavyweight division. You've got Reyes has fought a couple suspect guys, did beat them, but has only been in the UFC for 2 years, and they have found, I think a sweet spot to kind of get him into the limelight, and anybody can win a fight. It's a fight. It takes one shot. But I think, feels like a little bit too much too soon for Reyes. And the other big part of this is you're looking at the betting line here. And now obviously you know where I'm going here. I'm going with Jon Jones. I do like Jon Jones, but that is not the play. We can't talk minus 460 plays on the show. So what we're looking at here is a method of victory. And when I was really breaking this down, I said there's got to be a sweet spot in this fight. Because one, I believe that minus 460 is actually not a bad price for this, and I do have bets on Jon Jones, mixed in and with parlays and that kind of stuff, because I just don't see a path to victory for Reyes here. But overall, if you look at the method of victory here, over Jon Jones' last 21 wins, 5 of them have come from submission. And that's over his UFC career. Now, since 2012, 8 years ago, was the last time he submitted somebody. That was Vitor Belfort in 2012. So it's been 8 years since he submitted anybody. Since that submission, he has won 9 fights. 9 fights. Out of those 9 fights, he has knocked out 6 people, 6 wins by knockout, and then 3 by decision. So you take a look at this over the period of time here. For me, I love the play here. Method of victory by knockout or decision. That's going to be minus 180. So you're getting off of that minus 160 play. You're able to really find value here. I mean, I don't really see this being a submission. Anything's possible, but I don't see a way that Jon Jones is looking to take him down, and he's going to look to stay at a range. Possibly the Jon Jones, after all the PEDs, has looked to really be, the kind of guy that's looking for decisions, and not like, and they've been dominating performances, but I like these statistics here. 1, say it. 2, I think he not plays it safe, but I believe that he knows Reyes has got the power. He's going to look to stand outside, trade shots, and get this by a easy decision. Or Reyes, with his cardio, is going to really start to drain into those championship rounds, the 4th and 5th round. That's where Jon Jones can capitalize and put him away. So I like, as one of my free plays, method of victory, KO or by decision is minus 180. That is my first free play. The other one we're going to be talking about is Juan Adams versus Justin Tafa. So this is an interesting fight here, and this was one that actually stuck out to me as soon as I took a look at this card. It was one that it's name recognition. I do remember Adams. He fought Greg Hardy and that whole thing. So I wanted to dive into some of the past things that Adams had been doing. And you know what? I was not impressed to start off with that. You've got a guy, you got Juan Adams here who's minus 260. You've got Tafa who's plus 210. First off, both these guys are coming off losses. Tafa is 3-1. You've got Adams is 5-2. Lost his last 2. One of them against Greg Hardy, the ex-football player. So that's a little something that started to get my wheels turning here to look into this fight. So I'm not going to break down their past fights and all these things. Just here, stylistically, what did I see? What did I like? And is it worth placing the bet? So really, when you're looking at it stylistically, you've got Adams, who is the brawler. He's the kind of guy. He's a big guy. He's taller. He's you've got here. He's going to be 4 inches taller than Tafa and about a 5-inch reach advantage on Tafa as well. And those are 2, of course, important attributes when you're breaking down a fight. But in my opinion, that is where any advantage that Adams has ends, because everything else trends towards Tafa overall. I mean, you take a look at it. I mean, one, I do love the fact that he is the protege of Mark Hunt. I mean, he looks like a little Mark Hunt in a way. But he is a guy that's got big power, and he could be susceptible to a takedown, but it's not like Adams is some, really high accolade, jiu-jitsu specialist. So he's always looked for, Adams always looking for the big shot, moving forward, and his reach and his size has helped him when he has fought in the lower organizations. He's able to, knock out guys that don't really have much ability, the guys that aren't going to make it to the UFC, and those are the guys that he has seemed to beat. And really because, again, of that range that of the reach that he has against guys that aren't really capable of being trained to then somehow counter that. Tafa, I do like the gym he comes from. I do like who he works with. But overall, the technical striking of Tafa, in my opinion, is way above Adams. Adams is the kind of guy that bulldozes forward. He likes to brawl. And he's got these lazy combinations, looping hooks that really will give a lot of opportunity for somebody like Tafa, who has quicker hand speed. He mixes it up a lot better, and even he throws in some great high kicks, low kicks. He's really able to mix that up, and that's something you don't see too much coming from the heavyweight division overall. But I do like what I see there. Yes, he did get knocked out in his last fight, but that was a fight there where he let everything go. He looked for the big knockout. He was in front of, home soil, 80,000 people, whatever it was that was there. He was looking for the big shot and got caught. I think this spot is a much better stylistic matchup, although he's a smaller guy, a better stylistic matchup overall, because when they're trading, and Adams does like to stand in the pocket and trade, and again, he's the kind of guy that overextends, throws, comes out of position, times where he should probably be defending, he's throwing shots. That's something where I think a guy like Tafa can be able to exploit overall. That is a huge part of this, and the opportunity is gonna be there, because I think Adams is not gonna stand out. He's not a kind of guy that's gonna stand outside and utilize his range. Even though he has the actual reach, he doesn't use it correctly. He really pretty much does not use it correctly. He pretty much looks and stands and trades inside. So a guy like Tafa, who I believe has a better technical skills, more crisper and smoother combinations, I think he actually has more of a career also within the UFC compared to Adams. I think Adams loses here. Really, really bad things, I think, are going to be happening for Adams, whether he stays in the UFC, doesn't stay in the UFC. I mean, he lost to Greg Hardy. Greg Hardy does not have the training that Tafa has. So I just really, overall, at this price tag here, you've got Juan Adams. There is no way, in my opinion, that Juan Adams deserves a minus 260 here. So here, I feel it's more almost at a pick'em. And then you're getting Tafa, who I do believe is the better fighter, at plus 210. To me, it's a no-brainer here. These are two big guys. Sometimes when you're in the heavyweight division and you've got, guys that are going to be going and trading and big shots and anyone can land. I mean, of course that's possible, but that's also possible with a lot of, light heavyweight division and, this kind of thing. So I like Tafa. I think he's got the chin. I think he's got the ability. I think he can put it together. He's got more weapons, and he's able to really utilize those weapons and pull them out a lot quicker compared to Adams. So for my other free play, it's going to be Justin Tafa at plus 210. So those are my two free plays for UFC 246. You've got Jon Jones, method of victory, KO or decision, minus 180. And then you've got Justin Tafa to defeat Juan Adams, plus 210. Those are my two free plays. I also will have two plays on Wagertalk for purchase. If you're interested, take a look. Link down in the description. And I always appreciate everybody who likes, comments, all that, subscribe if you've not yet done so. I always appreciate it. We've had a solid run, so I'd appreciate a nice thumbs up, because 9-1, let's keep that going through the year. Got a big underdog here, looking for some nice plays to cash us in again. So there you have it. I will have the bet review show out on either Sunday or Monday. Also looking to do the show with Minty Bets on Thursday, and that may be coming out on Friday. So kind of gotten a lot of things going on here. So definitely stay tuned, subscribe, comment, like, all that good stuff. And we will see you on the bet review show. And this is Kyle Anthony's UFC betting show, and I'll see you at the bet review.